So we have houseful people. Okay, friends, the prime objective of this session is to ensure that you get a job. And each and every point that I'm going to talk about would just take you a few steps closer towards getting a job. That's the ultimate objective, guys. Right? That's the ultimate goal that I have. I have also connected from another machine so as to monitor, a few things. I request everyone to stay muted throughout the session, and I request you all to disable your webcam throughout the session. These two things are, requests from my side. If you want clean recording, otherwise there'll be unnecessary disturbance. And already you're 150, so people have joined first come first. It allowed. I didn't knew that 150 people only it is going to allow. Okay, anyways, I have a few points, friends, that I've taken a note of. I want to explain about these. Number one, all these analytics projects, how do you even get that? Get those projects for them from the customers? Through networking, through personal connects, and by doing some search engine optimization or doing some marketing, we get the customers. When customers, when we go to customers and when we discuss on what is your pain areas, they only talk about your business problems. For example, say we have a customer who is one of the leading steel manufacturers. Okay, one of the leading steel manufacturers. The owner of this company happens to be an ISB alum, and that is how we got this particular lead. Indian School of Business, where I'm also one of the visiting faculties, by the way. So, when we approach them, they tell us what their problems are. For example, when you go to a doctor, you talk about your problems, right? Not the solutions. You will say that you have headache, you have fever, you have stomach ache. You talk about your problems. Those are the business problems. We record all those business problems and then we come back. When I say we, say InnoDataTix. And InnoDataTix would be called as performing organization. Because you are performing certain analytics projects for your customers. When we put a proposal, we look at, okay, how many hours approximately it might take and how many hours would it take? Those many hours multiplied by hourly billing. It could be $10, $20, $30, $40 per hour, depends. Different companies charge different in a different manner. And then we give the proposal to the customer. In that proposal, alongside the problem that they have spoken about, they'll also have we'll also mention the high-level solution. Alongside how much it will cost, how many hours it's going to take, who are the various human resources who will be needed. Do we need a cloud expert? Do we need one data scientist or two data scientists? Will there be full-time employees working on this? Would they need consulting from a chief data scientist? We mention all those details. Human resources required, in some cases hardware resources required, and so on and so forth. This particular manufacturer was saying that there are a lot of steel, the rods that I manufacture, but I want you guys to automatically count the number of rods that we have in the inventory. Okay. Now here, we ask them, okay, why do you want to count it? What is the problem? Then they were saying that, you know what, manually our people counted every now and then. Manually counting the number of steel rods is a Herculean task. Once in a week or once in a month, we make them do that. So manually when they count, they also might go wrong. It is also time consuming. It is inefficient way of handling this counting of steel rods. Okay, we understood the problem. Problem, not the solution. It's something like you go to a doctor, say what problems you have. Don't tell to the doctor that you want paracetamol, you need something for stomach ache, you need multivitamin, so on and so forth. You will never tell those things to the doctor, right? On same lines, in the Viva session or in the mock interviews or in your final interviews, when people ask you what is your business problem, talk about business problem. Friends, don't talk about anything else. A lot of people are, when I ask, okay, what is the business problem of your project? They are giving me the solution. You don't go to a doctor and give a solution, right? You won't say, okay, doctor, write down paracetamol. I'll have to take it for 5 days, 5 days, azithromycin. You don't say that because that's none of your business. Doctor would figure out the solution. You tell me problem when problem is asked. Okay, first point. So first of all, you need to understand the business problem. Once you understand the business problem, you need to record the objectives and constraints. And a few people have this doubt on why should I always use the terms minimize and maximize? Why should I start off these two with the terms minimize, maximize? Minimize or maximize. A few people give me 10 objectives, 10 constraints. Oh my God. This is a single project. Either 1, 2, maybe 3 max. Not beyond that. So both objectives, constraints should have this. Okay. And you should not write it as a big paragraph or a sentence. You should confine it to 5 to 6 words max, friends, not beyond that. Why should I use these two terms only? Why can't I frame it the way I like it? Do you know what? When you all joined schools, they would have explained you how to write a letter format. Dear, whatever is the name. Or when you send emails, would you put your signature first and then your name last? No, there is a specific format. Why do you think there is that specific format? Why do you think that there is that standardization? So that everyone follows a systematic approach. Otherwise, why do you need CRISPR framework in the first place, guys? You can do it the way you want, right? What is this CRISPR framework? It's a project management methodology to handle your project in a very structured manner. Why do you need that structure in the first place? These are also for that purpose. If there is a standard approach, if there is a defined way of, documenting your objectives and constraints, what's wrong in that? This is how the standardization happens, right? Import pandas as PD. Correct? In Python, you type that. Why PD? Why can't I say DP? Who is stopping me? Why can't I do that? No one stops me. You can also put ABC. Import pandas as AB rather than PD. Why people are using PD? Because that is a way to standardize things. If everyone else across the globe starts using Python as import and use this particular line as import pandas as PD, it becomes easier because whenever there is any error, everyone posts that error, wherein import pandas as PD would be there. So it will become easier for people to provide a solution to that. It will make life of people easy to remember such things. This is exactly the same. Please understand that these are the standard ways of writing. However, these are not hard rules. Like import pandas as PD is not a hard rule. Even if you say import pandas as AB, it will work. try out. However, it's always good to have some standard approach. That's the same answer that I want to give for this as well. Also, if the problem is, people are manually counting and it's taking huge amount of time, then your objective will be to minimize the counting time, minimize the time taken to count the steel rods. You have to ensure your objective is going to solve your problem, friends. It should not be the other way around. Problem is something else and objective is something else. You cannot document like that. There has to be a clear linkage. If the business problem is that, people are manually counting the number of steel rods, it's taking huge amount of time, and also sometimes they make some mistakes. Minimize the time taken to count the rods in the inventory. Minimize the errors. These two could be possible objectives. Again, a few people are giving me a different business problem and a different objective altogether without any linkage. How would you feel if you go to a doctor and say that, doctor, I have a headache, and doctor gives you stomach pain tablet or knee pain tablet? Or what would you feel if a doctor gives you some tube, some painkiller for your leg, while you're saying that you have a headache? Or if you say that, I have a pain in my heart, and if the doctor still gives you some other medicine, like, okay, here is a painkiller, just apply on your chest region. Doesn't work that way, right? Whatever is a problem, your objective should be synced to that. And there is a common sense way of solving your problems or meeting your objectives. What is that common sense approach? In this scenario, what is the objective? You know what? It's taking huge amount of time to count the number of rods. Sure. I'll increase the human resources. I'll hire more people and I'll make everyone count so that your counting time reduces. I can solve it that way also, if there is only objective given. I would tell to the customer, you didn't tell me anything else. You told that your time taken to count the steel rods is increasing. So I'm going to reduce that. You want me to solve, right? That's it. And I'm going to hire more people. But that's going to increase the cost. Operations cost would increase. Right? And even better constraint here would be, customer might sit down and think, okay, these people might act smart. The team from Innodatatrix. They might just say, increase the number of human resources, job done. So let us put a constraint on them and say that minimize the manual effort. Now there's no question about you hiring more people. The moment I say minimize the manual effort, they're also expecting some automation there. That is how you need to document constraints. Constraints also should begin using minimize or maximize. It's a best practice. If you still feel that, do you know what? I have this habit of sending an email, but my signature will always be at the top. Whomever I'm addressing this email to, hi so-and-so, will be at the bottom. Yeah, wish. Do that. But think on, is it right or wrong? Think in that way. Why standardization is required? If you are the kind of person who writes import pandas as AB, then sure, use your own words for devising objectives and constraints. Otherwise, have some standardization. Who's stopping you to be structured? Okay. Next, success criteria. When I say what are the 3 success criteria, you'll have business success criteria, machine learning success criteria, and economic success criteria. Again, this business success criteria should be related to your objectives. There has to be a clear linkage between your problem to objectives to constraints to your success criteria. I want to reduce the counting time by 50%. I want to reduce the time taken to count the steel rods by 40, at least 40%. So two things. One is you need to quantify. You cannot just say that I want to reduce the time taken to count the steel rods. Customer might say reduce it, make it 0. I mean, that is what I assumed because you didn't mention anything in your success criteria. After the entire project is done, customer might say, why did you not make it 0? I'm not going to pay you. What would you say? So success criteria should be quantified always. You quantify it. Some number should be there. And don't give a single number, friends, because probability associated with a single continuous value is always 0. So you always need to mention a range or greater than or less than. Machine learning success criteria. I'm going to help meet accuracy or F1 score of more than 80%. You're quantifying it. Economic success criteria is related to cost, friends. Now, don't say that I'm going to help increase the cost of the organization. Come on, we are just data scientists solving a project. What is the role of CEO? What is the role of CFO? What is the role of board of directors then? To one project, if you're planning to increase the profits or reduce the cost of entire organization, no. Because of this reduction of manual effort, I'll help the organization save $100,000, at least $100,000 or at least some number. When you say at least, it'll be greater than or equal to, right? You cannot give a single number. Okay. That's how you need to define these things, friends, success criteria. Then you proceed further with data collection. In data collection, no customer will say, you know what, here is the entire database, take it. Okay. And whatever data you feel apt, take it, use it. Data is unimportant for us. Data security, privacy are the least important things for us. You take it, you're a data scientist, right? You take the entire database, you sell it, you download it, you do whatever you want with that. Would any customer say that? No one will say that, friends. No one will say that. Data is precious. When you ask them for data, they'll ask you 100 questions. Why do you need that? Is there any other variable that you need? Why would you need that? What kind of analysis will you perform with that? N number of questions. And then you'll also have to sign NDA, non-disclosure agreement. You have to sign MOU, memorandum of understanding, that the dear data, you'll not share it with anyone else in the raw format. You might mask and want to share, that's a different story, but you cannot share it as is. So what customers will say is, I have a database in my server. Within that database, I have tables. Within the tables, we have data. Okay. And after you give them the bunch of variables or features you need for your analysis, only then the customer will move that data into your database. If you know, Databricks has, yeah, we have AWS server, by the way, and they'll push this data to your server, to your database, and your team of data scientists are expected to connect to this database and work. Or if geographically customers have some limitations that, you know what, you cannot move the data out of my country, if such restrictions exist, then the team of data scientists will connect directly to the server. This is why when you write the code, we expect you, even if we give you data in CSV or Excel format, you push the data to the database. From database, you pull it into Python and start working, because that is how it happens in the real world. That means you should be having good knowledge about the architecture, which includes your data pipeline. and understand the differences between data pipeline and model pipeline. Okay, so you do your research. How do you do your research? Obviously, on Google search, you'll not find many because research articles will be part of deep web. Deep web, one of the deep webs, usually you use Google, right? Or Bing or Baidu for searching search engines, three major search engines. On similar lines, you have something called as Google Scholar. Like we have Google Scholar. And in Google Scholar, you'll have access to all the research forums, all the deep web articles. Research, read multiple documents so that you gain some domain knowledge. Any company that you join, say you joined, say, Accenture as a data scientist, and you have pharmacy background. You are from B Pharmacy or M Pharmacy, masters in pharmacy. But they have given you a project pertaining to life science, say banking. Would you tell to the customer, would you tell to the head of your data science department that, you know what, I hold a master's in pharmacy. I don't want to work on that project because that's related to banking. You cannot say that. They'll put you on bench, and they'll have some rules that 2 to 3 months, if a person is on bench, means they won't assign you any tasks. Then you can be terminated. And during the recession time, these are the people who will be most impacted. People who are on bench, not flexible and all that. Don't get into that zone, right? So any organization will ask you to do research, gain some domain knowledge, then ask for relevant variables, features. Get that, and then start working. This is how it works, friends, in real world also. I have 17 plus years of experience, but then sometimes there are new industries that I deal with. I will sit down, I do research, I do my homework, then I go to the customer. Without domain knowledge, you cannot do anything, right? Each and every column you should be aware of. Okay, so that is where your data understanding comes into picture. After your architecture diagram, your data understanding. What is your data dimension? How many rows and how many columns you have? A few answers really surprised me. Like, I worked on the project. I don't remember how many columns I had. Around 40. What kind of impression are you giving? What kind of confidence are you instilling in the interviewer by saying that? You know, we have 60,000 rows and 27 columns. How would the customer feel, as an interviewer feel happy? Okay, this guy understands the data dimension. How many rows, how many columns? What is your output variable? What are your input variables? How many numerical and how many non-numeric columns did you have? Did you have any date time column? Did you have any, a string, textual data in your columns? That's understanding your data. Each column, what is the units that are used? Steel diameter. Suppose there is some column called as diameter. How is diameter measured? Mm, cm, inches. How? That unit also you should be clear about, because you are the person who worked on the data, right? You are the person who has blown life into the data set. You are the person who has been working on this day in, day out. If not you, who will know, right? You as a data scientist should know those things. Don't assume that it's very trivial. You'll not get a job. Simple. The difference between you not knowing those things versus you knowing those things is you getting a job versus you not getting a job. Okay, next. Is your data balanced or imbalanced? Basic question. You should be able to answer. You cannot say that, I think my output variable is categorical. You think, is it? You worked on that project, right? If the output variable is continuous, then how do you decide whether your data set is balanced or imbalanced? All these kind of questions will be asked in Viva sessions, in mock interviews, in your main interview also. Then EDA, data pre-processing. These two usually you cannot delineate completely. Were there any missing values? What kind of imputation technique did you apply? Did you have any outliers? What percentage of data had outliers? How did you deal with those outliers? Obvious questions, right? Did you do any one-hot encoding or any of the encoding techniques did you apply? Did you do any transformations? Did you convert your numeric data into categorical data? Did you do that discretization? If yes, what were those columns? Can you briefly explain? Then EDA. If there is a column called as diameter, okay, steel rod diameter. I might ask a question, or anyone might ask you this question. How is it distributed? What is a skewness? If you say it is positively skewed, how do you figure out skewness? How do you know whether it is normally distributed or non-normal? I do a histogram. What do you have on x-axis and y-axis of histogram? A lot of people weren't able to answer. But a few people crossed all these, and at this stage they fumbled. But no one could go beyond ED and data pre-processing. That's the reason why we are conducting this session. We want everyone to go through smoothly at WordGo as part of Viva sessions, right? Then my question will be, okay, you're telling this is right skewed, but I'm a steel manufacturer. I'm a CEO of steel manufacturing company. I don't understand statistics. Can you help me understand in the business terms? Okay. There are small proportion of steel rods which have very high diameter. And what are those? Maybe do you know what 16 mm rods or whatever, 22 mm rods, if at all they exist? Okay, those are these. What proportion of data was there in your long tail? Should have in and out understanding of your data, simple. And you have to always give the business reasoning, business explanation. Okay. Then you obviously build your models. There, everyone, I'm sure, will do a decent job. With respect to Python code, only those functions, key function names will ask. You should be aware of that. Then when you build the models, be rest assured about not just your models that you have used, but all the other models also. People ask you, did you try out ensemble techniques? Did you try out deep learning techniques? Why did you not try out? While you were selecting the model, what different aspects did you consider? Did you consider only accuracy, or did you also consider performance or speed? Did you also consider the scalability aspects? Did you also consider the explainability aspects? All these things. Accuracy means I'm referring to F1 score. What is the formula of F1 score? 2 times of precision into recall by precision plus default. What is the range of F1? 0 to 1. What F1 score value would mean? Good value. Anything greater than 0.8. It's like 100%, 0 to 100. 1 is 100%. Okay, in that way you'll have to explain. Yeah. For explainability, you know what ensemble techniques do? They have explainability aspects. Is it good to use ensemble techniques to explain your model? Not really. Deep learning? Not really. Then what models did you use? Especially when you work in the space of banking or life sciences healthcare, explainability comes into picture, but because your model should be approved by the regulatory bodies. All these things come into picture, friends. Okay, next. I'm sorry if my voice wasn't good until now. Now it'll be good. I was assuming my mic was on. It wasn't on. My bad. Okay, now hopefully the sound, etc., would be a lot better. Okay, now you also then at this phase, when you evaluate your model building should also include hyperparameter tuning. Hyperparameter tuning is also important. What are the hyperparameters? Okay, and what are the regularization parameters of the various algorithms? Okay, what are the default values of those hyperparameters? And did you actually use grid search techniques or random search techniques, or did you use any of the techniques to experiment with your hyperparameters? Then where did you deploy a model? And can you just share your screen and explain me the deployment part? How did you actually deploy? Right. And then finally, monitoring and maintenance. In monitoring and maintenance phase, questions will be around what is the difference between data drift versus model drift? What do you mean by concept drift? What are the other scenarios based on which you're going to update your model? These are a few things that we would ask, external people would ask, external interviewer will ask. When you have a good understanding of all these things, awesome, isn't it? So, a few more things. Read the mind map on a daily basis. Read 3 times minimum. You will never go wrong. You will never go wrong. Forget about Viva, forget about mock interviews. Any interview on the planet, you'll clear. Theoretically, you'll clear. Okay, next, ensure that you type 100 lines of code and SQL queries. All put together 100. Okay. Import pandas as PD is 1 line. Type it. Select star from whatever be that particular table. Type it. Third, ensure that your resume stands out. If 2 students from same 360DigiTMG apply for a job with same experience, assume 360DigiTMG students only have applied for the same position, assume. One student has 360 certificate, IBM certificate. Another person has 360, IBM and NASCOM. Whose profile do you think interviewer will shortlist? Obviously this guy, right? Because he has more content, more certifications. For shortlisting, it will be helpful, friends, because there's one another question which people are asking and people are expressing their displeasure towards this. See, we don't take any pleasure in pushing you to take these. If you take it, it's for your benefit. Number one, your resume will look solid because there are 2 additional certifications which you are, um, putting on your resume. So your resume will stand out. Second, when you do Python, 600 rupees is your entrance exam fee plus 1,000. So 1,600 rupees will be in your NASCOM account, which can be redeemed to do some other courses. And here, 600 rupees for entrance and 8,000 rupees would directly come to your bank account. Your bank account, not my bank account. This is from Government of India. This is GI incentive. Number 3, when you prepare for NASCOM, Python and data science certification, you are indirectly preparing for your interviews. It will help you in interviews. Just because you learn does not mean it's going to be worthless. It will be worth it. It will be worth it. The confidence with which you are going to attend the interviews will increase. Viva sessions will become easier. Mock interviews will become easier. Your interviews, external interviews will become easier. Focus on that front. Having said that, there are a few people who still Said that no, we'll do it later. Sure, we respect whatever your decision is, and we'll proceed further with Viva. But I'm I can only explain you what are the benefits, underlying benefits. It's your career, your life at the end of the day, right? Okay. Good. Whatever errors you're getting while you're working on the project, whatever errors, doubts, etc., post on LMS. Don't wait for your mentor or teaching associate to help you with that. If you post it on the learning management system as a query, then not just the team of you all are part of 360 DigiTMG, no doubt, but then the core team, we have some 25, 30 people, not just they, but our students also will look at that. They might also be interested to answer. Give everyone an opportunity, right? So please post it. It will also get recorded. Tomorrow, if you want to refer, you can. Fifth, once you're done with your project, we would recommend you to use Jupyter Notebook and record your complete code with code modularity. Okay. And do a video recording by sharing the screen for 30 seconds. Don't talk. You need not talk it. You can just scroll it. Okay. I mean, you can do it this way, for example, on Jupyter Notebook, mind you. Yeah. So in this way, record your CRISP MLQ, business and data understanding. What was the problem? What was the objectives? What was the objective? What was the constraint? What was the success criteria? Business, machine learning, economic. Okay. What kind of data did you collect? Code modularity is important. Import all the libraries, and all the libraries that you're importing, put it there. And then how are you establishing connection with the database, right? And all the database related thing. How are you connecting? What is the database? Then you get into data pre-processing and EDA. Then model building. In that way, show that code modularity. That will also help you a lot. And tag and get it approved first. Get it approved by 360 team, because we don't want any grammatical mistakes, etc., to be there. We don't want any silly mistakes. For example, equal to sign without any spaces. Is this looking good, or is this looking good, friends? Think. Before and after your equal to sign, there has to be a space. After comma, there has to be a space, not before comma, after comma. In that way, there are certain things, and spelling mistakes are a big no-no, guys. A big no-no. And once approved, you post it on LinkedIn. And you can tag me, that is Bharani, and 360 DigiTMG. Why am I saying so? Am I selfish? Will I get some mileage out of that? Not really. What mileage will I get? Okay. A few people might think that way. Hence, I'm not saying. Friends, this is my profile. Okay. I have roughly some post impressions. Whatever I post, I can show you in short what happens, right? Say these are the post impressions. Okay. I'll take lifetime. There are roughly 3.4 million impressions, correct? Okay. Forget about that for now. Where is my profile? I have some 41,500 followers, right? When I like it or when I share it, what do you think will happen all these followers will be able to see the post. And if they're really impressed, they might call you. Two students, I think in November last year or so, they were interviewed by a company and one of them got jobs through this effort only. I don't usually do it until unless I um, see it properly. If I find any spelling mistakes or grammatical mistakes, no proper spacing, etc., I don't like or share, because ultimately people will feel that what kind of a person is this guy? He's liking or sharing a post where people do not even know how to write. I mean, write basic grammatical sentences. I don't want to have that kind of an impression on me. So it's up to you on how good you make that. And if I really like it, I'm going to certainly like it. Okay. So these are a few things, friends, which I wanted to share from my side, and hope this helps you. Hope this is going to help you prepare well, not just for your Viva sessions, but also for your final interview.